Hey everybody, welcome to WhyBuy. Let's talk about the PlayStation 5. It's been a long time coming, but I guess the best place to start is that anticipation right before console launch. You know, Sony had a development conference where they went over the specs and details of the console. I mean, it might have been looked at as kind of a letdown, but they did deliver on what they said they were going to do, and that was a development conference for hardware and specifications. My takeaway was, okay, so they're working with studios to help develop the hardware, much like the PlayStation 4, asking them, what do you want out of a console? And to me, that's a good thing because thinking back to PlayStation 3, that's kind of where Sony was disconnecting with its core audience. Here's this monolith console that is all powerful. The cell processor could be linked in parallel to be a supercomputer. All of these capabilities into a gamer, it's kind of like, great, what about the games? So when you pick a camp, like a Xbox or PlayStation or PC, you have to know, like, this is the best choice. Like this is the best thing I can do for my money, because if you pick the wrong camp, you're kind of stuck in that ecosystem and it can be very expensive or cost prohibitive to, switch. Some lucky few can afford to do both, but yeah, I remember the PlayStation 3, thinking back to PlayStation 2, I had a whole library of games that I loved playing, things that if I wanted to, could throw them in the PS3 and I could still enjoy it. And that was a big deciding factor back then.
Another first brought by PlayStation is back catalog compatibility.
Fast forwarding to the launch of the PlayStation 4, this was kind of the first time I started hearing about how Sony was spending a lot of time with studios asking them, what is the most important thing to you? What do you need more of? And how can we deliver that so that you can produce better games? That synergy between the developers and Sony is not just good for what ends up being the hardware of the console, but it's good for the gamers too, because now you have more developers who are having an easier time developing games for the console without losing quality or performance. You don't suffer in some of the gameplay elements like the PS3, which from what I understand was very difficult to develop for. So the big event, the kind of the moment where I was actually with a friend who, he was on the fence of, was he going to get an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5, and we got together to watch, it was called The Future of Gaming. This Sony reveals they're going to finally show the console. They did a great job in showcasing, what the hardware could do, how it could change the experience of gaming, and of course, the big reveal of all, the actual console. When the console was revealed, I had no idea what to expect. You saw tons of memes and like leaked photos of what this thing was going to be. My actual expectation was it's going to be, something black, sleek, small, hopefully that kind of thing. And then they released this huge, bizarre design choice. You've never seen anything like that. And I'm looking at it. It was actually I didn't like it at first when I saw it. I was like, I don't know if it's gonna fit my living room, where are you gonna put this thing so that it kind of blends into the rest of the tech. They showed the controller, some of the accessories, and I was like, okay, I gotta have this thing. I want it. How do I get it? And so I don't know if people remember, but during the Future of Gaming show at the end, pre-orders are gonna start the next day on the weekend, on Friday, I think. And I was like, great, I'm gonna be first in line, I'm gonna try and get one. And later that night, I get a phone call from a friend, and he says, I'm on Walmart's site right now, and I think they're live. I think you can pre-order them. I'm putting in my order. I'm like, no way. I go to check on my phone. I'm just like blown away. This must be a problem. I can't imagine that, retailers would go straight to market and start selling them, but I mean, who cares? I put in my order and it processed and went through. Now, in retrospect, looking at that, oh, I got lucky. Man, did I get lucky, because so many people still today can't get their hands on one. And I mean, that's largely due to the demand and the lack of supply, but it's also scalpers. I mean, it kind of sucks, you know, of all times to release a new console during a pandemic where we have to stay inside, to not, you know, be able to get one. I can't imagine the frustration. I'd be pissed. But anyhow, I got lucky, got my hands on one, and well, it's awesome. So let's dive into the actual reasons, you know, why this is a next-gen console. So the big thing, the first thing is the SSD, or the solid state drive, that the console runs off of. So the benefit of having a solid state drive is the speed that it can write and retrieve data. So what does that mean? Well, it's fast, yes, you know, moving files and that sort of thing. The UI, everything works pretty quickly, but the big benefit is actual gameplay. So in an open world, for example, like say Spider-Man Miles Morales, you have a really rich and full detailed world that you can, you know, completely navigate quickly and just look, and the details there, the loading time, it's simultaneous. So, you know, the best example I could reference would be the Uncharted series, where it almost felt like as you were playing the game, the transition between cutscenes and gameplay and the next level was so smooth that there was no break, there was no pause, and I really enjoyed that. So to now have, you know, a better way for developers to deliver that experience, I think is fantastic. So that's the first big thing is, yeah, the SSD. The next thing they talk about a lot is ray tracing. So ray tracing, the way I see it is that in reflections, they're very dynamic. So the world, the environment that you're interacting with feels more authentic, especially with lighting, the way things refract or bend around objects. It adds a sense of realism and immersion. So it's cool to be able to see the processing going on. It adds that additional level of believability and realism. The other big thing actually for me was 4K. I mean, I didn't buy a PlayStation 4 Pro, so I couldn't, you know, experience the benefits, I guess, of having a 4K gaming experience. And I was really excited to see what that looked like and how that would affect games and, you know, just the visuals. You know, it's really, it's a nice treat to be able to see just how detailed and sharp everything looks. The one thing I noticed with, you know, 4K is that not only is it easier on your eyes, but it feels like you're playing a different game, much like a 4K Blu-ray. You really start to see things that are just like definitely noticeable. You could tell the difference if you had the two side by side, for sure. I also like the fact that it's backwards compatible. Something that I thought the PS3 was, you know, one of its saving grace was the fact that you could play PS1, PS2 games. So with the PS5 being able to play at least PS4 games, I like that fact. I like that even on some games, they would be upgraded. So not only are you playing a previous game from a different console, the previous generation console, but now you get an upgraded, I guess, in the visuals, the frame rate, the performance, and I have noticed a difference. There is, if not so much the visual assets, it's the smoothness of how well the games play. Another thing that they really pushed is the Tempest audio system, this kind of 3D audio effect. And at first I was like, okay, well, they're just trying to sell these new headphones. But no, it actually works incredibly well. You really do get a sense of where things are coming from, and it's distinct. And it's not in a weird way where it feels synthetic. It genuinely feels, you know, like if you're wearing headphones, it feels like you're in the environment and you can, you know, determine where things are coming from. And you don't need the Pulse 3D headset. Personally, I didn't buy it. I intend to buy the new Pulse headset just because I like how they look. I've actually worn a pair and they feel very comfortable. But for now, yeah, you can just plug your headphones into the controller, and like I said, that 3D audio system works quite well with any pair of headphones. So the console actually came bundled with a free game, which I think is just a tech demo, and that's Astro's Playroom. Now, Astro's Playroom, I looked at it and I was like, okay, I'm installing other games. It's something I'll play while I wait. It's so much more than just an add-on. That is a good game. I was impressed. I fired it up and like instantly, as soon as the menu comes on screen, you feel the haptics in the controller, and it really is a tech demo for what the controller can be in the 3D audio system. And honestly, if you're a PlayStation, if you're a gamer fan, playing through this world is fantastic. So the other big thing with the PlayStation 5, and to me, what I would probably say is the best thing, is the controller. Now, I had seen photos, I had read about you know, the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers, and I remember I was like, I wonder how that's going to feel. You know, how responsive is it going to be? How much tension can they actually put in mechanically into the controller? And this is what I think elevates the console to that next gen. So the controller, for one, I think is a great improvement over the PlayStation 4. Just ergonomically, the heft to it, the creaks and rattles, it's solid. Like the new one is a great feeling controller. The haptic feedback was kind of a surprise to me. I didn't realize how much of an impact it would actually have on gameplay experience. So things like ground textures, and Astro's Playroom again is a great example of this, where if you're on sand or if you're skating on ice, you get these sensations in the controller that it really takes it up a notch. It feels more fun, and it's more immersive, and they definitely knocked it out of the park with, you know, how can you make the gaming experience better? And on the other side, the big component to the controller are the adaptive triggers. Now, I am a big shooter fan. And I swear they did this deliberately for shooter games because it feels so good. Really the only game that I've played that uses the function for shooters is Call of Duty Cold War. I mean, it is incredible. Like just the sensation, how it can be different. It's hard to describe how much better it makes the gaming experience. Now, I mean, some people don't like it. I have a friend who actually doesn't even use the feature. He turns it off. I should say too that I was actually playing, I'm pretty sure it was because I was playing Call of Duty Zombies, and I was using a single fire gun, and I'm constantly reefing on this trigger and pulling and pulling and pulling. What ended up happening was I noticed the trigger started to go limp. It was just kind of dangling there. It's like the spring inside had broken or something, and I think it was just I abused it. Got the console new, and I'm just constantly reefing on this thing, and I contacted Sony. They're like, yeah, we can replace it for you. You'll have to mail it to us. And with COVID, and I was like, man, how long is that going to take? He's like, well, it could be a while. So I just actually took it back to Best Buy, which is where I bought it, the second controller I have. And yeah, I got it replaced, and I haven't had any issues since. It's been a few months now of using those controllers. Haven't had any problems. But yeah, in terms of accessories you can get, I mean, you have the controller, not the gaming controller, but like a Blu-ray remote. I'll probably end up getting it. I do have, one for my PS3 and whatever. Good accessory, I guess. Really, the only accessories I have is an extra controller and a charging stand. I'm impressed. The controllers do last a long time. I would say 6 hours easily. It's a good accessory to have. It looks good, matches the aesthetics of the console, and yeah. So I have to talk about the games.
You and me, Bell. Let's do this. Mission accomplished. We have the intel. Let's bug out.
Call of Duty Cold War is probably the one I'm playing the most right now. And, you know, the campaign was good. Activision and Treyarch do a great job of, you know, stories and delivering gameplay experiences that if you don't want to play online or, you know, with anyone else and you just want to experience a good shooter story, they do that well. But the thing they do best, and it's fantastic, is the multiplayer.
Okay. One work.
Especially getting together with other people. I feel that, you know, during COVID right now, it is one of the few social things I can do, you know, to connect with friends and have a good time. It's just it's a fun experience. There are a ton of game modes. I think my my favorite new game mode has to be
Prop hunt. Don't let the search team destroy you.
I still love the traditional, you know, multiplayer search missions, that sort of thing, but prop hunt, so you could be like a wet floor sign, you could be a piece of shrapnel, you could be a part of a satellite, basically anything, and you have to hide it while the other team tries to hunt you down. And I have to say, being on either side is hilarious. Like the amount of
What were you? What?
the laughs that we have playing that game mode. You have to try it if you haven't. It's a lot of fun. But the big thing, so with Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, the big one is zombies. I'm not even sure if it's still Treyarch that makes Black Ops. Anyways, zombies is an amazing game mode. It's a lot of fun to play with friends, and you know, it's just basically horde style attacks of zombies. You have to see how high of a level you can get to, and you know, there's quirks and different, you know, Easter eggs and things you have to find in each mission from each game, and it's a lot of fun. And again, the actual mechanics, and they do it so well. The sensation of the triggers with the haptics, the gameplay. I mean, it's an extremely well polished series of games that. I mean, yeah, Call of Duty is just is one of the flagship brands when it comes to gaming. So another game that I like is Spider-Man Miles Morales. So Spider-Man Miles Morales is a continuation from the previous Spider-Man game, and it's honestly, not only is it a good action kind of superhero game, but I just really enjoy cruising the city and swinging from building to building and just kind of appreciating the detail and the performance of that game. It is very relaxing, and it's just, I don't know, it's a good experience. I didn't think I'd like that game, but it's really good. I mean, overall, it's just an extremely well-polished game, and Insomniac Games is an amazing studio. If you haven't checked out their other games, they're fantastic, really well-polished. Even back to Resistance: Fall of Man, that series I think is criminally underrated. It is a very, very good series, first, second, and third game. In terms of the library, it's a new console, so there isn't a lot, which is kind of a good thing if you don't have one yet. You're not missing a lot. The games that are available, while they're good, there aren't a lot yet. And, you know, I still actually go back and play previous games that I love because they still look fantastic, and I figured it's worth showing you kind of what it looks like on a PlayStation 5 to play some of these. Uncharted 4 is, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, action-adventure game. I think that Naughty Dog is the best studio when it comes to delivering that polish, that stunning visual, the narrative, the gameplay. That is a AAA studio. They do such great work. Whether it's The Last of Us Part 1, Part 2, or whether it's, I mean, the Uncharted franchise is, for me, what, you know, it just hits a note that, yes, you are playing a movie, and it feels like you're, you know, in the action of a blockbuster film. And it's just, it's so much fun to watch the characters, even going back and playing it again. It's a fun game. The gameplay mechanics are great, and it's just a, yeah.
How did she do that? Can we just talk about this?
I don't think so.
BioShock, I think, is my favorite game because of the story and the artwork and the experience of, that was kind of the first time I had played a game from a narrative standpoint where I was just completely blown away as to how much passion there is in these games. I think that the team that were developing it at Rational Games put so much care and attention to detail that it still holds up today because of the love and the care that went into the...
Leave me alone!
My daddy's smarter than Einstein, stronger than Hercules, and like a fire with a snap of his finger. Are you as good as my daddy, mister? Not if you don't visit the gatherer's garden, you aren't. Smart daddies get sliced at the garden.
Steady now. Your genetic code is being rewritten. Just hold on and everything will be fine.
The meticulousness of the world, it's just a fantastic gaming experience. So following up to Ken Levine's BioShock is BioShock Infinite, and wow, I remember the first time I walked into that world.
I bet we could have something arranged.
Good to see you.
And my jaw hit the desk. Beautiful, amazing, amazing environment. And that, to me, I mean, that's what video games are all about. It's transporting you and realistically placing you in that world. It's just, what an experience. Yeah, just beautiful.
Done it! Objective Caesar taking objective data.
Battlefield 5. Can you believe this is like almost 3 years old now? Battlefield 5 is such a good game. It sounds amazing. It looks amazing. The warfare style of, you know, how you approach the battlefield. It's just, I'm so happy that Battlefield exists and that DICE exists, because in my opinion, that's the direct competition to the Call of Duty franchise. And much like Sony and Microsoft, they need each other, and they, you know, constantly pushing the boundaries of like just the spectacular, you know, kind of bombastic nature of those games. It's awesome. So my favorite thing is probably, yeah, the controller. If there is something that gives you the feeling of next gen. Now, as time goes on, I'll probably change my answer to my favorite thing is the first party exclusives that Sony puts out. Their games are terrific, great studios, but for now, has to be the controller. I mean, it's just ergonomically, it fits great. The adaptive triggers, I'm still, you know, I have a hard time going back playing other games that don't have that. And, you know, the haptic feedback, I don't know. It's a great product. So if you thought this video was helpful, please like and subscribe, show your support, and thanks for watching. Spider-Man Malice Morales. I don't want to see that. Oh yeah, that's a massive TV behind me, by the way. Oh yeah. I didn't think about this. If I can figure out how to do this backwards, you know the UI is good. That's the reason I had it fixed, is because every time it goes to a black screen, you see like the reflection of the camera. What's going on back there? Oh, the PlayStation! Games. How could you not love gaming?